Hello guys, this is the first shoutcast on the EPL YouTube channel, and this is a self-made cup which was EPL exclusive. It was the Climate Cup, which has the four allowed types: fire, ground, water, and grass. And it was quite interesting, I think, and it looks very fun in this tournament. And here we see the first opponent of Marco, which is Dragon Tamer ZA. And the leads are Charizard into Frostlass, which is a pretty good lead. Charizard beats Frostlass quite confidently, but it has to watch out for the Avalanche, which would totally wreck Charizard, because it's neutral and Charizard is super squishy. Yeah, so here he goes for Dragon Claw, because it would do enough damage so the Frostlass can't get to another charge move. And he wins the 1-0 shield. And in comes Swampert, which takes a Blast Burn, which will get shielded. It would have done about 50%, so it's okay. And the Charizard gets to another Dragon Claw before it gets Hydro Cannoned to Oblivion. And now it takes a Hydro Cannon without a shield. Quite obvious, because Marco knows that the opponent has two Hydro Cannons ready at this point, and Charizard would get hit by it anyways. Also, he has Venusaur in the back, which can easily tank a Hydro Cannon, but it's an Earthquake, which almost deletes Venusaur, and the opponent also has a Venusaur in the back with Razor Leaf as well, which will totally annihilate his Swampert. Yeah, so he loses game 1, but we know he's the winner of the tournament, so we know he gets his comeback in the next two matches. So here we see another, once again, Charizard in Frostlass lead. Charizard goes for Fire Spins, and this time he goes for Dragon Claw straight out. And it's shielded, so this is super good for Marco. And he also shields the Avalanche again to survive and keep his Charizard alive. He switches out into Swampert to get down the Frostlass, and yeah, he really keeps his Charizard for the Venusaur, which is coming in right now. So it was super good that he kept his Charizard. And now he goes instantly into Dragon Claw. So he tries to bait out the shield, which he doesn't get, but I reckon he can farm down from this point. Yeah. So Charizard is quite squishy, so the Fire Spins deal a good amount of damage, and here he goes for a Blast Burn, sadly. So he wastes all of his energy just to finish off the Frostlass, which already was quite low. We see some lag, but it's not too bad, and his opponent has Swampert in the back, so we have a Swampert mirror in the end, after it gets Dragon Clawed. And yeah, he switches out, which is also a very good move. Oh no, he has Venusaur in the back. Right, Swampert died against his opponent's Venusaur. So yeah, Venusaur just completely destroying Swampert, just farming it down with Wine Whips. So it's 1-1, and now he decides to go for a Charizard, Venusaur, Swampert again. So he really likes this lineup. And he catches the lead against Nidoqueen, which isn't that good if it has Stone Edge, because it can absolutely one-hit Charizard. But it's not that bad, because it takes quite a while to get to Stone Edge. Sure, Blast Burn is also 15 turns, but it's okay, and it one-hits. Blast Burn is such a good move. Also, on a Glass Cannon like Charizard, it's totally OP. And here, Charizard goes for Dragon Claw again to get out the shield, because it will most probably be shielded. As we can see, it is. The shield was just invisible, but since we do see there was no damage, we know it's hit. And here he switches out again to preserve his Charizard for the maybe Venusaur in the back again. Especially Charizard is pretty good against everything he can have in the back since Swampert is gone. Swampert isn't gone, never mind, but he has Venusaur in the back, so that doesn't matter either. So now Frostlass goes down, and in the back he has Venusaur, so really good that he preserved his Charizard, but it doesn't really matter. His own Venusaur could also beat it since it's a Razor Leaf variant, and he also has a shield left, so GG's. second round, he fights Though Tactical, who's a super good battler. And he leads Ludicolo into Blaziken with Razor Leaf, so it's quite a good matchup for Blaziken. And he goes into the mirror, which is quite good after some Razor Leaves, because you can just counter down and go with a good amount of energy. But Marco switches into Charizard, which can tank Blaziken's charge moves pretty well, except for Blast Burn, because it's still a super strong move, even though it's resisted. Both are glassy, so Blaziken has high attack, Charizard has low defense, but he is able to beat his opposing Blaziken and get Razor Leaf down. I believe he will go into Venusaur, yeah, because it hits neutral and it double resists the Razor Leaves. Now he Qs Ace, which was still possible back then, and he obviously shields because the cheapest charge move it knows is Ice Beam, which would totally destroy Venusaur. And he goes for a Sludge Bomb, which destroys Ludicolo. I think Frenzy Plant could have been enough, would have been enough, but however, yeah, so he has Blaziken and Venusaur with a shield against Lapras, Venusaur with some residual energy. GG's. That Lapras will get destroyed. Yeah, the Frenzy Plant is just such a strong move, super effective as well. Venusaur also has quite some attack, so yeah. Here we see the same lineup again, Blaziken, Charizard, and Venusaur. So he really likes that lineup. And here we have the same situation as we had before, just opposing. And he goes for a Blaze Kick. I think he should have done like one counter more to bait, but it's shielded anyways. And he also shields the Blast Burn, so he doesn't get baited and he shields correctly. I think at this point he could go Blaze Kick as well. But now the Charizard doesn't have any shields left. And Marco doesn't shield the Dragon Claw, so he lets his Blaziken go down and takes another Dragon Claw to the face of his Charizard. So he lost switch advantage, but he has shield advantage, and he has super strong Pokemon in the bag against his opposing team. Because Charizard is gone, and Blaziken is an OP against Venusaur, since the counters are resisted. So here, he goes Blast Burn against Lapras, which is super strong. Now he can just Wind Whip down, basically. Waiting for Though to decide. And he goes into Charizard, getting farmed down. He hoped to get to the charge move, but he sadly wasn't able to. So now Marco hits the Sludge Bomb, which will do a huge amount of damage. And since he has a good amount of energy, he gets to another one before Though can even fire a Frenzy Plant. Yeah, so he won match 2 again. And he again uses the same lineup, just switched places Charizard and Blaziken. And they start with a mirror. So this Though goes out of that into Lapras, and Marco decides to go for the Blast Burn immediately, which will do a huge amount of damage, and it isn't shielded again. Yeah, so he shields the Surf to preserve his Charizard. It would totally get destroyed by that Surf. Now he wants to switch out to get down the Lapras before it can get to another Surf, but isn't able to. But now he has 4 Fire Spins worth of energy. And in comes Blaziken. So now his Venusaur is basically useless. And yeah, the Dragon Claw gets shielded, which is super good for him. The problem here is the Blaziken has such a good energy advantage, and it also wins CMP here. And it hits a Blast Burn, beating the Venusaur. So this is basically a lost match. He actually can't win this, I believe, because Though still has Charizard in back, full HP, also a shield left, and Though also has a good amount of energy on his Blaziken left. Yeah, so he blast burns, which isn't enough, but the fire spins off Charizard. They are stacking up, especially if you have this little HP. Yeah, so he finishes off with Dragon Claw, winning the third match, but still, Marco was able to win out 2-1. And round 3, he fights Captain Track, who is also a super good battler from the EPL Group A. And they lead Lapras into Swampert, which is actually quite a neutral matchup, but oh, it's a Water Gun Lapras as well. Seemingly, this was quite good in this cup to counter the fire types. Ice is still super good, being able to do super effective damage against grass types, but he wanted to use his Lapras as a fire type counter. And he takes an Earthquake to the face. And here he pretty much has to shield if he wants to win switch advantage, which he does. And he farms them with water guns, and now he has a Surf ready for the opposing Pokemon. And it's Quagsire. With Mudshot, he can't do that much damage, so he still has the shield pressure through the charge moves and still takes water gun damage. And Marco is able to get to another Surf. Yeah, so Quagsire is down to 35% HP about that. And Marco has his Venusaur in the back. And Charizard is super good against Marco in this situation, because he only has Blaziken in the bag. But he tries to go for a Sludge Bomb, which isn't shielded. Yeah, so this can flip the whole match. And now he also catches the charge move, which will most probably be a Dragon Claw. Yeah, it's a bait. Because there's still a shield left. He really needed that bait. But now Marco just won't shield and farm it down with Vine Whips, so he wins round 1. Yeah, like I said, no matter what the charge move is, he still has the shield. Venusaur, double effective. Doesn't matter how many shields the opponent has left. Yeah, so now we go into the second game against Captain Trax. And Lapras into Lapras lead, so it's a mirror match. I believe Water Gun is better because it's just resisted, while Ice Shard is double resisted. But Ice Shard generates much more energy. It's faster by 0.3 per turn, so that helps. And if he doesn't have Skull Bash, that should be a win for Marco's Lapras. And either he baited or he just doesn't have Skull Bash. So Marco goes for another Surf. Not shield again, obviously, because you don't really want to use your shields on that. And his opponent, Captain Traku, switches in Charizard, which really isn't good against Lapras when it has Water Gun. And it still has so much HP left, he just has to shield the Blast Burn and he's good. So here he shields, being baited, but it's still okay because the Water Guns will do a good amount of damage. He goes for another Dragon Claw because the Lapras is quite low. And it isn't able to get to another Surf, which might have been crucial. So this was quite a huge farm down. He has a good amount of energy left, but Marco decides to preserve his last shield for the opposing Lapras, or the last and third Pokemon he has in the bag. So it is Swampert, and this means his Venusaur is super good in this matchup because we know he has Lapras in the bag, so he switches out immediately after the charge move. Most probably will shield, yeah he does, and he catches the Ice Beam with the shield. This is the best shield he could have done in this game. So now he immediately goes for a Frenzy Plant, hoping the opponent can't get in a Mud Shot before he can do the Frenzy Plant. Obviously it's shielded, but with the energy advantage it has, it can easily get to another one before Swampert can fire off an Earthquake. Hydro Cannon, I don't think it would KO at this range. Would be pretty close though, because Hydro Cannon is a super good move, and at the time of this tournament it still didn't get the nerf of 10 damage less. So now we see the team building, Charizard, Venusaur, and Lapras, I think it was, which is quite a good lineup, especially against Trek's team. So he catches the lead. Charizard against Blaziken is pretty good for Charizard. and the opponent goes into the mirror. He decides to keep his Lapras in the bag and goes for a Dragon Claw bait, which still does super good amounts of damage to Charizard because it's such a squishy Pokemon. And he gets Blast Burned. So now he will definitely come in with Lapras and farm down the Charizard, or at least try. And he doesn't shield again, but this time around it's just a Dragon Claw, which he obviously predicted due to counting the fast moves. And in comes Venusaur by the opponent, so he will probably lose round 3 since the opponent still has Blaziken in the back with a whole lot of HP. He also has Venusaur, as we can see, so he used the shield correctly, but it still won't help since he needs the shields for Blaziken. Because Blaziken with, I think Blaze Kick would even knock out a Venusaur. Because like I said, it has super high attack stats, and Blaze Kick isn't that good of a move. Oh, he has Brave Bird, so that is super spicy, but it can help out in some situations, especially against Pokemon like Charizard or other fire types. So here, last attempt to kinda beat Captain Traku, but no chance, still a shield left. And Lapras was his last Pokemon, so going 2-1 again. And round 4, he fights Stumpfomax, who's a pretty good German battler. He is also an ace in Season 2 as well, just like Though Tactical. And they lead Quagsire into Lapras. We can also see, oh, ice types are also allowed, right? So we can see Regice in Max's team, which is super interesting. He goes for Stone Edge, obviously, because it's the cheapest charge move his Quagsire has, and it's super effective. And as we can see, Max's Lapras also has a Water Gun. And it goes for Surf, because it's also the cheapest charge move of Lapras, and it's a pretty good move. Has 40 energy for 65 damage with Stab. Lapras is a super bulky mon, but he tries to farm down with Blaziken not taking another charge move, but it isn't possible. But he really didn't need to shield that since it was an Ice Beam, but he couldn't have ever predicted that. Because it's 15 energy more, so it's pretty unusual to go for Ice Beam, but probably clicked it earlier. So here, Max thought it was a bait, didn't shield the Blast Burn, got totally obliterated, and now he goes for a Blaze Kick against the Venusaur, because it, like I said earlier, it would be enough to at least soften it up a little for the other 2 Pokemon in the back. So he goes for a Sludge Bomb, using up all his left energy, but Marco has the Charizard in the back. With full HP, it can easily tank 1 Sludge Bomb, so that's GG's. Well, not easily, but with full HP, it's rather decisive. So he decides to lead Venusaur, most probably, and he's thinking about his team right now. So he takes Venusaur, Charizard, and Swampert, and he catches the lead into the Water Gun Lapras, and he finds a switch out into Charizard. He tries to switch out earlier, but back then switching wasn't cute, so it wasn't that easy to switch out, because you had to press it between the fast moves. But he correctly calls the Blast Burn, goes for a Hydro Cannon. I think a little early, he could farm up a little more, and he one-hits the Charizard. But the opponent, Max, has a Venusaur, and he tries to go for a bait with Hydro Cannon, which I don't think is necessary, because I don't believe he will get to another Earthquake. But at least he gets to another Hydro Cannon, so that's some extra chip damage. Oh, that was actually not chip damage. Man, Hydro Cannon was way too good, I believe. It really seems super strong. It got nerfed, but not too bad. And here he shields the Sludge Bomb correctly again. So this is basically a one match, I think. He can just farm down the Venusaur now and then go for a Blast Burn, which has to be shielded, but he goes for a Dragon Claw bait. deciding to leave his Charizard for the next Pokemon, I reckon. Yeah, he tried to switch out during the charge move, but it wasn't possible for him. So his Charizard got beaten up by the Lapras. And he isn't able to get to the Frenzy Plant before Mux gets to another charge move, which is a Surf, so it won't be enough. And now he knows he can farm up a little before throwing the Frenzy Plant, because Mux doesn't have any energy left. And this was super close. Yeah, so he farmed down ideally. He really needed that energy, and he couldn't have really farmed up anymore, and it was just enough to beat Mux in the first match. Or in this, was it the second already? I'm not sure right now. I think it was the second actually. Yeah, so here we see the team selection again, which consists of Blaziken, Venusaur, and Charizard. Yeah, so he likes his double fire, and he runs into Swampert, which is a super horrible lead. So he switches out into Venusaur really quick to hit some Vine Whips before it can be switched out. And now he goes for a Sludge Bomb against Charizard, which is shielded, so that's also super good that he at least got the shield. And now he goes for a bait to get the second shield, which would be huge. But he isn't able to. He probably could have done a Sludge Bomb and wasted, either not have gotten it off and wasted all of his opponent's energy, or done a lot more damage. So he goes into the mirror after that, and he guesses correctly, doesn't shield the Dragon Claw, loses the CMP on the second one though, which he doesn't shield either. And yes, he goes for Dragon Claw to finish off the opposing Charizard, which obviously doesn't shield because he doesn't really need it anymore. He has his Swampert, he knows the two Pokemon left on Marco's side, and he doesn't even get off the Blast Burn. Yeah, that's GG's, because Swampert gets to the Charge move so quickly. Sure, the counter damage does super well, but he still has a shield, and also he had some energy in the bag. Yeah, so if he gets another Hydro Cannon, which he does because he had a lot of residual energy left. Yeah, so that nukes Blaziken. So GG's to Mux as well. That was a very, very well played round. I see a pattern of 2-1 wins. And now I believe it's the last round. And our last opponent is Kalikawaii, with some spicy picks we haven't seen yet with Groddle and Celio. And the leads are Venusaur into Charizard, which is horrible for Marco. So it's also an Air Slash variant. And he counter switches into his Water Gun Celio, which is also super interesting because usually you want to run Powder Snow to spam those body slams. Marco goes for a Blast Burn after his Dragon Claw just now, which would KO Celio easily, but it's shielded. And so Celio farms it down completely from top to bottom. And he goes into Venusaur. He probably will shield because of Aurora Beam, but he doesn't, so he guesses the bait correctly. And he gets to another Body Slam, which would do a whole lot of damage. And it's actually an Aurora Beam, so yeah, that should have been shielded. But here, he lost Switch Advantage. He also only has his one Pokemon left. Even though he has 2 shields left and his opponent only has 1, he will most probably still lose this round because Charizard has Air Slash, so he can farm down basically. Yeah, so with 2 shields, lost the first match. But he will recover. He will recover from that. This time around, he decides to maybe lead something different. He's pretty confident with Blaziken in the lineup, but he actually decides to lead Venusaur again with Blaziken and Quagsire, hoping that his opponent would switch up the strategy, and it does. He does, so he catches the lead and counter switch to AWAC, and it's totally destroyed by Quagsire, so that was a super good counter switch. Quagsire hits the Stone Edge, which would one-hit KO, I think, because it's a super strong move. It's a Shadow Ball clone with super high attack, 100 attack. And here he also catches the Shadow Ball correctly. So, AWAG is pretty bait-based Pokemon with Bone Club, but he actually got off the Shadow Ball, and he shielded it correctly. Yeah, so here, he probably will, yeah, he shields, sadly, Bone Club. I wouldn't have shielded, I think, because I reckon that Quagsire could have tanked a Shadow Ball at this range, but I'm not quite sure. He still wins to the next charge move, he wins the race. And here comes in Celio, which isn't that good against Quagsire, because it also doesn't like to take Stone Edge. It's still super effective. And yeah, as you can see, 75% of the Pokemon just gone. And Quagsire is quite bulky, and also Water Gun is just neutral, so he was able to get to the next charge move. His opponent counted correctly, so he threw a Body Slam to finish it off. Now he will get farmed down by the Venusaur. Oh no, he wasn't able to farm down because he knew that his opponent would get to another charge move in time. And in comes Charizard as the last Pokemon, which is a huge threat to his two Pokemon left, Venusaur and Blaziken. And he switches out into Blaziken, or he tries, and he isn't able to. And he can tank any move, so he tanks the Blast Burn, and super close. The Charizard definitely had another charge move ready at this point. Super close win in match number 2. So we go into match number 3, the deciding match for the tournament. Who wins this? Kalikawaii or Marco? Well, we know at this point, but that will definitely be a super interesting and exciting match. So he goes Quagsire, Charizard, and Venusaur, catching the lead against Celio again. Like I said, the Stone Edge is a huge threat to Celio. He gets to the Body Slam faster because it's just 12 turns with Water Gun, while Stone Edge is, you get to 54, so you need another one, so it's 14 turns, 7 mud shots for the first one. So he goes for Stone Edge, he hasn't shielded the Body Slam, and now he counter switches to Venusaur. Yeah, so in comes Charizard, the Air Slash Charizard, which does a huge amount of damage to Venusaur, but Venusaur is able to get to the Sludge Bomb, and it isn't shielded, so he still has shield advantage. He also gets to the charge move faster, because I reckon he wanted to farm down, but wasn't able to, and now he uses his last shield. But as we can see, he didn't actually try to farm down, it was a CMP tie, which he just happened to lose, which is super bad for him. Yes, he has switch advantage, but down 2 shields against Quagsire and Charizard is not really good, especially against Quagsire with the Stone Edge and the Earthquake, 2 nuke moves, which deal super good amounts of damage, and so does Charizard's Blast Burn. As we've already talked about, it's a super squishy Pokemon, but it's a glass cannon, so it has super high attack. And as you can see, the Blast Burn, even though resisted and AWAC is quite tanky, still 50% gone, and he actually gets to another one because the fire spins from AWAC are resisted. And here, he is actually able to beat down the AWAC with 2 shields left. And here, Quagsire against Celio. Celio doesn't have enough HP left to survive a Stone Edge, and so he wins this super interesting match and the whole tournament. Yeah, so this was quite interesting. Oh, it actually survives, but doesn't have enough energy and HP to get to another 2 Body Slams, or Water Gun down the Pokemon, the Quagsire. Yeah, so super interesting tournament, super interesting cup. GG's to Marco, very well played, super interesting matches, some very, very good opponents. And the movesets were also quite interesting because they are different to usual movesets like Powder Snow on Celio. Usually you want Ice Shard on Lapras, but still, it was super interesting. They were just the preferred movesets for this cup. You can actually put those into PvPoke, into the custom rankings. Yeah, so guys, this was the tournament. And yeah, that was the first shoutcast on this channel. Bye!